Welcome to the Women in Business radio show with Sean Murphy, connecting women in business around the globe.
Hello and welcome into the Women in Business radio show studio. I'm Sean Murphy, my co-host is
Del Martin.
And in the studio today we have our expert for this show is Stacey Foster, who is the female accountant with balls. She is the founder of Foster Accountants and Consultants Limited. Also in the studio and taking part in the discussion is Kate Holohan, who is a hairdresser, educator and trichologist. And we're going to find out in another show what that is. So, what have we got going on today, Adele? I haven't even set the topic. Look, I've done a brand new thing. I've done it. Look, what is the topic? Do we know what the topic is? It's accounting.
It is.
It's accounting.
And again, and exploring
accounting
with balls.
Oh, God. Stacey, did that get any more boring?
I tell you what, every accountant thinks they're boring, but we sort of need accountants, and that's just it, isn't it? We need accountants, even if. Actually, no, let me rephrase that. Even if you don't use an accountant, we need accounting, as in we need to deal, if you're in business, you need to deal with the numbers, you need to deal with the money, and whichever country you're living in, whichever country you're listening to us from, at some point you are going to have to explain something to somebody and put a return in somewhere or act illegally, whichever one you want to do.
Yeah, we were chatting before
We're not judging.
No, we're chatting to their own. Before the show about costs and things that are just bearing down on us as small business owners. So
So I don't know what we're going to be talking about as far as it goes. So we're going to be talking, I know that we are going to be hearing from Stacey about her story and how she ended up being an accountant, what she does and who she works with. And I think we'll see where it goes there. So perhaps not having a topic was destined.
Yeah, we like that.
Perhaps we'll see where it goes. I think it's always really, really useful, I think, for people to understand the role of an accountant. And I think it's also really useful for people to understand where the numbers fit in with their business. And what their critical numbers need to be.
Yeah, well, that is it. I mean, with the obviously current climate, the recession, and the fact that businesses have such a terrible failure rate, so something I want to change. But massively. Actually, cash, and that is the most important thing in a business, and why most businesses fail. So, kind of my headline title is "Cash is Queen."
Cash.
Because we all know that Queen is higher than King.
Which gets more done, generally.
Exactly. Queen is boss, so cash is queen.
Right, well, there we are. I tell you what, now you know what we're going to be... Now you know what we've got. We have got a title. Cash is Queen. Yes, we'll go with that one. I tell you what, we get to the end of the show, I'm thinking, what are we going to call this show? There we go. Now we know. Cash is Queen. Brilliant. I love that. That's half the job done for later. So, have we got any announcements?
We do.
Announcements, fire away, Adele.
So we have the Women in Business Big Show next year.
We do, 10th of August.
Yeah. So again, we got all of that in place. That's on our website. You can start to have a look with sponsors, etc., stalls. All great. And again, we're looking forward to that. Yet another year outside of COVID. So I know women are already talking about what we're going to be doing. And we're going to shake it up a little bit differently there as well, aren't we?
We are, yes.
Spice it up.
Don't know how.
No, but
we are. Things are on the move. We're going to move people around. Yeah, it got a bit stuck, didn't it, and stayed.
Yeah, but so we're just going to
we're going to be moving people. We're going to be moving people around and using different areas of the venue. So
definitely.
So it'll be even more chaotic.
It'll be different.
Yeah, it'll be different but chaos. Yeah, it'll be a different chaos. Apparently, nobody else notices apart from me.
No.
It's just me.
Yeah,
everybody else thinks it's running quite smoothly, whilst they can't see me. Where am I on? She says, what's she doing in that corner?
We're fine, we're good.
It happens.
And then the other announcement, wonderful Deborah Turner has asked us to talk.
The lovely Deborah Turner, who as her role in the FSB, also supports the Women in Business Big Show alongside the FSB, which is brilliant, yes.
And we have our Christmas get-together at Christine House on the 8th of December.
I'm actually sponsoring that as well, so yes.
You see how this all fits in together quite nicely, doesn't it?
Exactly. I was working through in my brain. Yeah, exactly. So yes, now I know there's another part of it. That's amazing.
Why have you chosen to sponsor that event?
I just love what it's all about. I love Debbie and Sue and, you know, their passion for women in business, bringing people together. You know, it can be lonely, can't it?
Yeah,
and
very.
it's just, great, getting everyone together, and I just really want to support that. So.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Do you want to talk about the business club we're starting?
Shall we?
Yeah,
A bit
I
more
think-
shameful marketing.
I think we ought to. More. Yes, I think so.
Marketing. We have. So,
Well, if we don't ever tell anybody
But
about
no
it,
one's ever gonna know.
nobody's ever going
So-
to actually know about it, are they? There'll be
we-
you and I.
There will be you and I. So we are starting our business club in early January, where we're going to bring a community of women together, because exactly what you said, Stacey, it can be lonely, and we were looking at bios and what you're told when you first start out and failures and mistakes. We've been collecting these stories over the last sort of 18 months from the show, and then a couple of guests said, why don't you do something to help? And Sean and I looked at each other and said, yeah, why don't we be women in business?
No, that's not
Collaborate.
exactly what happened. I went, God, should we? And
And I
they told me,
went, yes,
I forgot. And but we heard something. Sometimes stuff keeps coming towards you, and you keep ignoring it.
Yeah,
and then it keeps coming towards you, and then after a while, it sort of starts slapping you in the face.
did
You go,
punch us.
actually. Okay, all right then.
And actually,
so
then when we actually sat down and gave it quality time, we realised, and we started to speak to a few people. I said, do you know what? It's exactly what we wanted. Even this week, Sean and I come out of corporate. I was talking to a corporate woman who wants to set up a side hustle, and she said, where do you even start? So it's that business club, which we're running on a Saturday, and there's more to come. And it really is about helping women. Exactly what you said. When I know Deborah and I talk specifically about my genre, only 1 in 3 women are entrepreneurs, and in my age bracket, looking at 32% leaving, and women's businesses are folding in 3 years. We just felt we wanted to give them a fighting chance, and that's where we come together. So we'll be starting that.
but shall I
journey
tell you
now.
where this is going to be different for me?
Yeah.
Is it's introducing something I found absolutely ghastly, actually totally vile, and that's some role play. Because I think so much of the time when things aren't working and you've got everything in place and something isn't working, the client, you're not getting the clients, or the product isn't launching, or something isn't happening, it's because very often of the conversations that you are or are not having, there's something that you're not happy about. It could be that you think inside it's too expensive. It could be that somebody said to you, hey, go for that price, and it should be that price, but inside with your little gut, you're not comfortable with it. Well, when you come and do role play, and if you're taught how to tune into your intuition and you start having a conversation about your product or your service or what you do with somebody else, you get little little snags, and it's those little snags that can sort of tell you where you are hung up on it. And so we're going to be doing role play. We're going to be role playing networking. We're going to be role playing your 60 seconds. What happens if your 60 seconds turns into 20 seconds?
Yeah.
What happens if your 60 seconds suddenly turns into 2 minutes because there aren't that many people there and they decide to give everybody an extra? What are you going to do? What are you going to say? And how do you stop that 60 seconds sounding like you've been saying it for 50 years? So it's accountability, and it's role playing, and it's experiences, and the people that are going to be doing some of the workshops and teaching. The idea is that they come from the group, so that you get to share your expertise with other people. They see what you do, and before long, hey, guess what? Perhaps we will start buying from each other as well.
Yeah.
That would be good,
That
wouldn't
would
it?
be good. Yes, so that's what we're working on
I
together.
love it. Sounds great. And will it be for people that are not quite started yet? Maybe got a little side hustle, or will it just be for those that have launched? And
I think rather than it being at a where people are as a particular time in their business journey, it's more about attitude, actually. So, for instance, both Adele and I have a corporate background. Although we're at different stages of where we started our business and what we did, I think both of us came out of that with a business mindset. So we had that mindset. What we were lacking was knowledge. There are other people who may come out with an awful lot of knowledge, but their mindset isn't, they're not quite sure on it. So it's not this is for you if you're a startup and we're going to be doing startup lessons. It's more about your attitude.
Yeah.
Actually.
The trouble is, so many people, they start business because they're good at what they do.
That's what
Yes.
But then they go into business and realise, actually, I'm not a business person. I don't know how to do this, don't know how to do that.
To be honest, I think that is going to be bringing in an awful lot of it, because there are so many people who do go into business because they have a passion for something, and then suddenly realise that, hang on a minute, oh, there's this thing called marketing, and there isn't a marketing department
anymore. Like me, I've got no PA, no marketing team, and I'm on my own.
But I think the biggest thing, actually, we're doing shameless promotion again. No, we're not. We're discussing it.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that both Adele and I missed when we came out of corporate was not being able to trot along to somebody else's office and go,
Have you got a minute?
yeah, have you got a minute? I'm not quite sure about this. I thought this was a good idea, but so down there, you know, George said he wasn't sure, and now somebody else has said something else, but somebody else is saying it's fantastic. What do you reckon? And just actually,
you have to wear all the hats. And the trouble with that is that it takes the focus away from actually the selling, the making the money.
Yeah.
They're so busy researching how to do bookkeeping, how to set up Xero, how to do this, and they don't actually get out there and sell anything.
Yeah, but very often that's why the research is going on, is because
Scared to sell.
Is because all the time you're doing the research about it, all the time you're still building a website, all the time you're still working out how Instagram works, all the time you're doing all of this, you can avoid the selling, can't you?
Positive procrastination.
Yes, that's the one.
But I'm working on my business. I'm not avoiding. I'm doing something.
I'm really busy.
Have no cash.
Anyway, it's bringing in those practical experiences, and for me it's about filling in the gaps of networking. I think and I'm guilty of this, is we so often we go along to networking expecting to get actually more out of it than networking. And it's about understanding where networking fits, and that actually this is filling the gaps. Yes, of course there's networking, because whenever you put people together in a room, they network. And I mean, I'm doing that inverted commas thing, by the way, with my hands, but you can't see that because it's radio. When you put people together in a room, there is an element, we could call it networking, but it's actually having a structure, a structure that's within
not
that.
Not just doing it for the sake of doing it and standing in a corner and not talking to anyone.
But there's a framework there. There's going to be a business planning element to it, all of this sort of thing, where people can use their own business plan or they can use our business plan, which is different to everybody else's business plan. Trust me, this could be a good thing, or this doesn't necessarily make it good, it just makes it different. It's a bit like when people say, hey, this is a homemade dish. Could be utter crap. Depends how good a cook you are, doesn't it? Anyway, that's what it's about. Yeah. And I think that's enough about that, don't you? Perhaps we need to move on.
God.
Wait, are you going to tell people how they can listen in, assuming they want to listen in some more? And we set up a new Substack community, didn't we?
We have. So you can listen to us in all the usual places like Spotify, like Alexa apps, or iTunes, etc. But we have moved both our community and subscribe onto Substack, which we've just started to use.
It is the Women in Business Radio Show.substack.com.
It is.
So you can go on there, you can have a free subscription, and you can get the majority of the posts, you can get the write-ups, you can get the compilations, all of that sort of thing. You can also take part in the community, so you can join in with a discussion, you can ask questions as part of that community, or you can subscribe to get some little extras, some little behind-the-scenes stuff and deeper dives on some of the questions that we cover.
Yeah, we can put that link in the website, and also we can put it on their bio on Instagram to get there quicker.
We've been waffling on for 20 minutes now. Do you think we ought to get a move on?
We might.
Shall we? I think we've done enough of that, haven't we? Shameless promotion. Should we go into some of our regular sections here? So, have you learned anything this week? Should we just dive? I'll tell you what, we'll start with you, because I can't think what I've learnt. Actually, I don't think I've learnt anything apart from to think something out and write it down on my piece of paper. And then we'll move over to Stacey. What have you learnt this week? I know you've learnt something because you told me.
This week. I have learned something this week. So it comes back to when we were looking at costs, etc. Sometimes we always don't know what is under our nose. So I had an email to say that Zoho, the platform that I use, has just upgraded meetings with virtual backgrounds, etc., which means actually I could use lose the other one I use for that one. And I think what I've learned is that, you know, when you've got software that you're already using, see what it's capable of, because we have a tendency to cost and buy other bits and pieces. And I think sometimes we're too easy to go and buy the next thing, linking back
I'm
to
terrible for that.
cost.
I'm like a magpie.
Yeah, and that's what they drive. Their model is based on that. And I think coming back to what we said about cost is stop and look inwards. So what I've learned is look inwards on what I've got before I keep buying what I really don't need.
And a lot of the software is actually, I think what we can say is comparatively cheap. Very often we're looking at between, sort of £5 and £50 a month, which when you look at things and in the grand scheme of things, well, actually, no, that's not a whole, it's only another tenner, isn't it? And you pile it on, and before you know where you are, not only you've got all of these direct debits disappearing out of your account, and suddenly you've got £700 worth of crap you're not using.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to be very careful here because we've got a paid subscription, haven't we, for our new Substack.
So go to counselling and everything.
Yeah, so no, it's very important that you subscribe to that.
That's a given, isn't it? I think it's software creep, and I think what we don't always do, and because we were literally linking back to spam being in your email. Oh, I've got another email from Zoho, and you just delete it or ignore it. And actually, if you subscribe to a software, that email is telling you they've upgraded their platform. And I think sometimes we just get caught up in the moment. And like you said, I've done it. I looked at my direct debit and thinking, oh, that's £10, that's £5, and the compound effect of that's quite a lot of money.
Exactly.
When actually the software provider I've already got, I've got it there, and it's noise. It's just noise. So that's what I've learned this week. Look inwards, go shopping, and actually I'm doing it to my own wardrobe. Go shopping in your own wardrobe and your own business before you go and buy anything else.
I've learned how to use Substack. I've also learned that I need to try and somehow do something with the notifications popping through on my phone. Somebody's changed something and something awful is happening. And it's buzzing all over the place. Stacey, what have you learned this week?
Oh, gosh. I have learned, do you know, about showing up? Because I think as women, we all, I'm assuming men as well, but kind of can talk yourself out of stuff, and sometimes you just need to make yourself do it. And I think I put on my bio actually about one of the biggest things that I hate is when this whole buzz thing about fake it till you make it. And I absolutely hate that saying because it encourages imposter syndrome and things like that. And anyway, backtracking, I kind of tend to think, oh, do I really want to do this? Like they're coming on today's show. Oh, I've got so many other things to do. I don't want to. Secretly, it's because I'm like nervous and whatever. But yeah. So instead of fake it till you make it, just even if you don't feel it, show up and and be present. Just do it, and you'll feel much better for it.
And we've brought the other questions from the other show now, haven't we, into this show, which, of course, Stacey doesn't know anything about. But we're going to go for it. And that is, what is your biggest failure? Now, don't tell me you haven't had one. All right? We're getting quite strict about this now.
Oh,
okay?
gosh.
Sometimes there is just failure. All right? And that's it.
Oh, failure.
And you might learn from it, but it's so what is your biggest failure?
My biggest failure has been when I've not listened to my gut instinct, and and I've gone against that, and I've gone, nope, I need this, whatever it is. So my biggest thing is my first couple of employees. I was desperate. I got so big. I was trying to do everything myself, and then I was like, no, I need someone. So I grabbed the first people that come along. Yep, you'll do. You say you can do this. Jump in, hand them everything, and it all went tits up. If I'm honest,
I love it.
My clients weren't happy. I wasn't happy. I learned so many lessons from that, and I should have listened to my gut that they wasn't the right people, but I ignored it and carried on. And so that was a massive lesson learned.
If you could look back as to how that gut instinct felt, so you looking back retrospectively, that you had it.
Yeah.
What was it that you missed? Was it a feeling? Was it your head saying something to you? What was it that you missed?
It was a real feeling in your gut that something's not right here, just ignored it. When you get like little things pop into your head and go, a thought, and you think, oh no, shush, because you don't want it to be true. But if I'd kind of thought about it and worked on it, and you thought, actually, no, this is telling me something.
It's really difficult though, isn't it? Because you said earlier you didn't want to come today, and you had that feeling. So it's being in tune. The more you listen to your intuition, the more in tune you are. And if you're not in tune with it, it's very easy to dismiss it as, oh, it's just nerves or it's just this. So it's knowing the difference between when it's your intuition saying, oh, is this really the right thing for you? And when it's just your nervousness or your apprehension about something that you should go, no, come on, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So it's having the confidence to know the difference, isn't it, between when you should listen or when you should kind of just push through.
What I do, if I'm dealing with that, is I will ask myself some questions and write it down. So, if I was in a circumstance where I've been offered perhaps something, come on the telly, come on this, come on that, and I'm going, do I want to? I'm thinking there are things that I might weigh up and actually ask myself directly, why do I want to do this? And it's a bit tricky because our brains will go, well, it's a long way away. It'll cost a lot in petrol. And it will sort of come up with all of this sort of justification thing. But do you think that perhaps advice would be, if in the employment situation, would be to actually not make a decision on the spot? Because I've been in that sort of circumstance. Yes, okay, right, well, yes, no, that'll work. Okay, yes, would you like the job?
It comes down to, planning, forecasting, and sort of knowing, firstly, can you afford that person? Is it really the right person? So not just jumping into the spot, but actually having a plan.
So interview them, stop, and and you may be sat there and you may have interviewed a few people and you're thinking, actually, they're the best, but actually don't offer them the job. Go away, sit and think about it, and actually perhaps sit with yourself and listen to some of the things that are popping up.
Yeah, but having said that, last week I've interviewing for a new office manager, and I put the interview out on Monday. The first one that popped in, I was like, oh, she sounds perfect. I offered her an interview, and then I interviewed her on I think it was the Thursday. Come the Friday, I'd offered her the job, purely because I've received about 50 applications for that, skimmed through them, and so since those first couple of employees, I've had a number of employees, and the ones that have, they've got all of the qualifications, the experience, and everything. Again, it goes down to your gut, that actually they've got to be the right person. And
so have you got better at listening to your gut?
Yes. So now I do it purely based on gut instinct, and so yes, it is a little bit more. So I've completely flipped it around now. So yes, they've got to tick a couple of boxes. Providing they can tick those boxes, it's purely on gut instinct and culture, like how they fit in with our office. So getting the right person is more important than having the right qualification. So that's what I've really learned now is I listen to my gut and
so we know what your biggest failure is. Now, what is your superpower? And you better not say listen to your gut instinct. If there's one, what is your superpower? The thing that you can do that nobody else can.
So I thought you said there was no tricky questions.
I tell you what, we'll just go with what's your superpower. Go with your gut instinct. There you go. What's your superpower? What's going to come out your mouth?
Superpower is actually instincts. I have really good instincts, and just getting people to feel comfortable, talking to people about numbers and tricky things, but going beyond that, not just looking, okay, you're suffering here in your business, but is it something deeper? Is there something else going on there that's perhaps resulting in that?
Okay, so do you think that that's what makes you perhaps a little bit different to other accountants, is that you know that if the numbers aren't working, that there may be something else behind that it's not just something that you can slap out on a spreadsheet and do some jiggling and sort of make that work or not work as far as numbers go, that there's actually something else happening.
Yeah, absolutely that. So I say I'm not your typical accountant, but now so many of these new breed accountants are saying we're not your typical accountants, now we're all bloody typical. So, but the thing is that I love is not just, so typically accountants, they give you your historic accounts and here's what happened a year ago, blah, blah, blah. What I love to do and what I'm passionate about is looking forward, okay? So you can't really change much in the past, but let's look forward. How can we make it be better going forward? So if it is like cash flow forecasting, and that will help you make decisions on whether you should hire a new employee, whether maybe you need to get rid of somebody because you're not efficient, or that sort of thing. So much more than just looking at your numbers, or
Okay, now let's find out a little bit more about you, Stacey, and how you. Let's have a little bit about your backstory. How did you get to be? Firstly, you're an accountant, but you have your own business and you employ other people. So you've gone beyond being self-employed to actually running a business. So how did that happen?
Well, okay, right. So first of all, how I fell into accountancy. So I didn't take the usual route. I don't do anything typically. So I didn't go to university. For years and years and years, I saw that as a massive hindrance. I wasn't as intelligent as other people. That's a whole nother story. So I actually went into horses and I trained race horses. Loved the job, but no money. And my husband, he was like, I want to buy a house and you're not earning enough money. I was like, oh, well, I'll get another job. I'll get a different job, and actually got a job in a vet's. And started doing a little bit in their office, working with the admins lady, and I was like, oh, I like this. I've got a bit of a, I liked maths back in school, and I've got a bit of a knack for it. So I applied to some London firms, and I landed one, and I managed to do all my training up in London. So done my qualification, went to a couple of other jobs. I then went into industry and done some finance director experience, financial control, moved up to finance director. Again, that's what makes me different, is I've not just got practice background, I've been in industry, in the real world. Then, so that was all going swimmingly. Then I had my first daughter, so that was nearly 7 years ago. I had my first daughter and went back to work when she was 3 months old, put her in full-time nursery. Had this little baby, and I didn't think that, you'd actually want to spend any time with them. So I was like, 3 months, I only need 3 months maternity, going back to chuck her in nursery and going back to work. So I did go back to work, which is all fine until she started getting some chest infections. And, I wanted the flexibility and a time off to spend, with her and things. And it was kind of the eyes rolling and the guilt, the constant guilt of having to ask for time off. And I thought, do you know what, I don't need this. I need to, something that's going to work around my child, my family. And so, I said to my husband and to my family, I'm going to set up my business. They was like, what? What? No, you've got a good job, good salary, what are you doing? And I was just like, I've just got this burning desire, I've just got to do it, My gut is telling me I've got to do it. So I did, I took the leap, and now they were like, no, you could do it.
I love them family members.
We knew you could do it, we had faith.
It was all us.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, thanks for your support.
Yeah, I really heard that at the time, yeah.
So set it all up, and it was all going similarly. I got in a couple of clients really quickly, and I was like, I'm smashing this. Do you know what, I'm going to have another baby. I'll just pop one out. It can sit and work next to me, while I'm working. I can carry on. And that was a bit of an eye-opener. She didn't sleep. She was colicky, and that's when I took on my first employee, because I was desperate. I needed someone, and it was hell. Looking back, I'd probably have postnatal depression, and it was a real tough time. But we got through it. And a few years down the line, a few more employees, built a team, moved office. I said to my husband, "Want another child?" He was like, "What? No, I'm not going there again. I'm not going back to that." It's like, it's fine. We've got a great team now. They can manage it whilst I have a little short maternity and blah blah blah. So we hired for our who is now our senior manager, Gavin. So I hired for his position, that he could just step into my shoes. And we are Gavin and Stacey. I don't know if you just. So he did, and that again, first person I interviewed for the position. Yes, you are great. You can do it. Chucked him in at the deep end, and I went off for the summer on maternity. And first time, I'd never even had a holiday up to that point where I didn't take my laptop. So the first time, I completely stepped away and had the summer with my son last year, and it was great. And I stepped back into. So I come back in September. But I didn't step back into that role of meeting everyone, and so it was like, no, I'm now going to be managing director. I'm going to be getting new work in, supporting my staff, but I'm not going to be going back into that actual checking account, blah blah blah. So that's kind of where we are now. We're still growing, so we're currently a team of 7. 7 when a new person starts, and we're still growing. We're opening an office in London as well. We've currently got an office in Sittingbourne. We're opening a second office, and just ridiculously ambitious. One thing that I've learnt about there's something I've learnt about myself. There we go. Don't tell me I can't do something. I can and I will, watch me. And that's kind of been my, you can't start a business with a new book. I can and I will, watch me. You can't run a business with 3 children. I can and I will, watch me. So it's kind of,
I like that. So I built a team. Just like threw that away. I built a team. It doesn't really. I don't think it happened quite as fast as that, did it? I just built a team. I'm not sure that we've got time to go in this in depth, but if you could sort of pull it down into, because you have to have the income, you have to have the turnover, you have to have stuff coming into the business to be able to build the team. It's a sort of step process, isn't it? Mm-hmm. How did you go about taking on your first people? Did you bring in external funding? Were you already saturated with clients? Are you able to, when you look back, think, actually, I did this, and then I did that, and then I did this?
Yeah, so I kind of tend to do things a little bit backwards. So I always think, well, you kind of have to take the leap of faith, and sometimes you have to take on things when you're not quite ready. So I did have a startup loan in the, I think it was probably my second year of trading. I got a startup loan to help me with that growth. It's very hard to do it organically and to wait until the income's there, because by the time the income's there, then your rest of your resources are deployed. So you kind of it all needs to happen at once, and sometimes so when I set up my business, I had 0 savings. It was, in an ideal world, you'd kind of save up this little pot of money and you're ready to go. No, I had nothing. And being a main breadwinner as well, I still needed that income, that level of income. So yes, I got in a couple of clients very quickly. That sort of sorted my income out. But then to get that boost, I had a startup loan, which I highly recommend. And that's why I love working with startup businesses, is kind of helping them get off the ground, really.
So I was just thinking about something else, totally in relation to that, but sort of taking all of that on board. I think that would be a really good topic to expand upon, but I don't want to do that today. So I want to talk about something that you mentioned before, which is cash is queen. So looking at this from your advising businesses now about the numbers that they're going to be using to grow their business, measure their business, all of that sort of thing, what do you mean by cash is queen?
Okay, so firstly, you need to have real-time information on your business. So it's no good of looking what happened a year ago. You need to know what's happening now and today. That's why we highly recommend Xero accounting software. So you can get up-to-date information and to know exactly where you are to be able to make decisions. And cash is one of the biggest things that, you can't really do much without it, if I'm honest.
So when you say cash, you see, to some people, cash is actually like a pile of money. Whereas,
in an ideal world, yes. But...
And actually, we have had a client come on board recently who only has cash. That's how he deals with stuff, and that's okay as long as it all goes through what we do and the way that we operate. So for him, cash is literally cash. But you're not talking about just cash.
Cash, no. So any kind of assets that can turn into cash. So debtors are an asset. Your fixed assets are an asset. Your stock are an asset. The thing is how quickly you're converting that into cash.
Yes.
So like your debtors, debtors is people owing you money. If you've got massive amounts of debtors and not getting that money in, then that's costing you in a way.
And at the moment that could be quite tricky, because it can be, fine, okay, I've got this money, I've got this cash because these people owe me squillions, but you've got to get it out of them, haven't you? And if they don't have it,
that's it. And if you're just looking at your profit and loss, you can say, oh look, we've got all this much profit, but actually you've got no cash, as you say, because everybody owes you, and the longer and older those debts get, the kind of risk of them turn into bad debts, and and that's when a lot of businesses failed, is because they failed to collect their debts, and other their debtors have then gone out of business or or whatever, and then struggle.
So are there ways that you can prevent that from happening, that you can sort of mitigate that to something? I don't think you can ever prevent it 100%, but I think there are ways that you can mitigate it, aren't there?
Yeah, like just little things like being on top of your bookkeeping. So having a bookkeeper or an accountant, or, you know, if you're sort of qualified enough to do it yourself. But by doing that, you're regularly reviewing those debtors. So you're regularly chasing. Xero sends out automatic statements, but it's just making a conscious effort to actually get that in.
And we do it by not allowing a debt to run up in the first place. Yeah. So if somebody's come to us for a website, we will do, you know, you have to pay a certain amount up front before we'll start to do that work. A bit like very often with builders. And what we're swapping very often is time. Is time, either our time or somebody else's time. Yeah. But if you're actually going out and buying bricks, you're potentially in a bankruptcy situation, aren't you? If you have gone and had credit at a builder's merchant to buy £100,000 worth of stuff to then go and buy a house or to build a house, and somebody doesn't pay out, you're in real trouble, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's, you know, it happens so many times. And so, minimising your risk where you can, get payments up front, doing credit checks if you can, you know, you can get like a subscription type thing where you can check people's background. But even so much as, you know, checking on company's house and things like that. So, yeah, it's especially as, you know, like we say, we're approaching a recession.
I think one of the things that, especially with startups, is, and I've heard this quite a few times actually, where startups perhaps haven't done as much due diligence as they should with new clients coming on board. You know, they're so pleased, hey, I've got a new client, and that, you know, they may or may not send out a pre-commencement-ish invoice or something along those lines, but the person doesn't pay, and they go, oh, well, you know, I'll sort that out in a few days, or I'll sort that out. If you can just do that and set that up, and then I'll pay you at the end of the month, and suddenly there you are in a situation. But you do it because, hey, you know,
you get all excited, you've got a client, and a bit naivety really as well. But and also people don't like asking for money, you know. So
what do you do? So if you have one of your clients who perhaps is a bit reluctant to be asking for the money that's owed to them, what do you do? Because you're sitting there looking at it and going, if you don't ask for this dumpling, you're going to be in trouble.
The best thing is to actually get somebody else to ask for you. So say, you know, even if it's from a different email address or something, I'm the accountant. You know,
who did that? Was it David Tennant pretended that he had an assistant for ages so that he could turn down invitations he didn't want to go to, but it wasn't from him. So he just made up this person and was like, oh no, he can't do it.
Get someone else to do it for you, definitely.
But it's good as well. I had some really good advice from a business course last week, and they said if you're concerned about cash flow, reduce your invoice time. So if you've got companies working on a 90-day invoice, ask them if you can move to like 30-day.
Yeah,
or when you send the invoice out, put on it, please pay by.
Yeah.
So then you're not, and then hopefully you won't have to ask them because they've got a date to work to.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised the amount of people who don't even put their terms on the invoice. So it's just like, oh, just pay me whenever.
So it's all the sort of thing, yes, it's almost an embarrassment about asking for the money. And I think that's...
But that goes down to what you said at the start about limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and I think it's... I think the quicker that you get to the point where you have a term, this is what needs to be paid. I think my advice and what I did for dealing with people who weren't paying their bills was to put a process in. There is a process, and you, whoever you are, you go through that process, and you have to be taken out of the process. So a decision has to be made by somebody else. There has to be a consultation process. Do we run this person through the process, or do we take them out because of whatever reason X, Y, and Z? But the presumption is that bill needs to be paid. It's paid by then. The work starts. This happens. That happens. You go through the process.
Yeah, yeah. And things like Xero and that can help with that, because you can set up automatic reminders when an invoice hasn't been paid. So it kind of takes that emotional aspect out of it. But also... I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. I've got another question I wanted to ask you, actually. So you were talking about your retention rate, and you were talking about how your retention rate is really high, and that you also the number of the percentage of clients that were coming to you through other people was 90% of them by referral.
So this is the new clients.
So this is really sort of what I'm looking for here is what you as a businesswoman are actually measuring outside of the cash in and out. So what are also the other critical numbers for your business that you're using to measure your success?
Yeah, so we have a number of KPIs, key performance indicators, that we can measure sort of how well we're doing the business, and so that we're continually improving as well. And one of the things we monitor is how many clients we've lost, because that doesn't mean they've gone elsewhere to other accountants. It might have gone out of business or for whatever reason. But the amount that we've lost and the amount of new clients and where the clients have come from. So we measure all of that because it's really good information. People that are recommending, referring to us means they're generally really happy with us. Otherwise, they wouldn't recommend them to.
And it's nice to be able to also to go and acknowledge that they've done that and say thank you. So, are there any other KPIs? You see, we use this as like some. This is we use this as our business thing. Are there any other KPIs that you think are particularly critical? Not necessarily for your business, because everybody's business is different. But are there any other KPIs either that you think for you or for some of your clients that you're working with that you encourage them to introduce?
So one thing for us is turnaround time. So from when, for example, when clients give us their information, how quickly that we turn around that and get that back out the door. That's really important to them. Yeah. But something that is not really too easy to log, but something that's important to us is communication about how quickly we go back to our clients. So if they've sent an email in, is that we want a response back to them within 24 hours. Because there's one thing that frustrates clients more is, oh, my accountant don't get back to me.
I tell you what, that is key, and people, I don't think people put enough importance on that. One of the things that I hear about my business, the website side of things, that people will say is, will you answer the phone? Now, to me, I'm thinking, of course we answer the phone. What do you expect us to do?
Yeah, or phone back when you say you're going to phone back.
Yeah, whereas so often people, they don't answer the phone. It's on answer phone. They send emails. I've heard of people waiting 3 to 4 weeks for a response from an email. I'm thinking, how does that happen? How does that? No, I can see how it happens, but goodness me! And then you expect people to continue to be clients.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, it shouldn't happen, and we've had 1 or 2 instances in the past where it has happened for whatever reason. The email's gone into spam, or I haven't received it, or just life gets
stuff does go every now and then. Stuff is going to go wrong, isn't it? But as a general but as a general thing. No, yeah. So there need to be some performance indicators about how quickly you're. Not necessarily picking the phone up, because it's not a call centre, but how quickly you are picking that phone up, and how quickly you're getting back to people, how quickly you're responding to emails, especially in something that you do, because very often it could be critical, couldn't it? Yeah. It can really matter, or they could be really worried.
Yeah, I've had people. So quite a few of my clients have my mobile number, which is fine, and I've had some people message me at like 11 o'clock at night, like really worrying about something, and then I haven't seen it because I go to bed ridiculously early, but so I've seen it at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I've been on that phone to them, but like I'm here now, you want to chat, and I've spoke to them, and it sort of reassured them, or kind of dealt with what their concerns were, and like that person messaged me later on the day. So this happened a couple of weeks ago. That person messaged me later on the day to say, how much that I would have stressed and worried about that all day long. For you to have just picked up the phone and just reassured me, that means so much.
I just want to talk to you about some of what I think are the challenging aspects of what you do, which is that you have critical timings and you have regulation. Mm-hmm. So it's not okay, is it, to sort of pick the phone up and go, I know your account's had to be, I'm ever so sorry, but I broke down, or there is stuff that's sort of external to your business that drives through your response times. How do you? I couldn't. If you want to know why I'm not an accountant, apart from the numbers and the detail, it's that. Okay. So
this is something that was really difficult when it was just me, and because you're trying to do all things, be all things, and it was then tricky. But so prioritising deadlines, of course, but yeah, having a good team that you can rely on, having processes. So we have like spreadsheets, we have systems that tell us when deadlines and things, so you know, hopefully nothing ever gets missed. But it's, and then back to the KPIs, we check in and that we're doing quick turnarounds and things like that, and constantly trying to improve. How can we make this better?
I mean, that would I wouldn't sleep. Actually, do you sleep?
Oh, you know, this is probably my superpower.
You see, there we go.
No matter how stressed I am, no matter what's going on in my life, I can always go to sleep.
You see, now, I think that those two things together are critical, actually, because I would not be able to run a business like that. It's not that I don't have any deadlines in my business, of course I do, but it's different. And the people that I need to bring in to support me to meet those deadlines are different, and potentially I can do them quickly, whereas getting somebody to deal with somebody's confidential accounts is an entirely different thing. Now, I would not be able to sleep. If you can, I think that before somebody perhaps goes into your sort of business where there is that sort of regulation behind it, that they need to say to them, how do I sleep? Can I go to sleep? Am I mulling things over in my brain all the time?
I'm going to make that an interview question.
Yeah. Because it really matters, doesn't it?
And I think that's where some people, like I said, have struggled because they can't switch off.
Yeah.
And any business owner, not just accountants or whatever, but the ones that are really struggling is the ones that they will lay awake at night, not thinking about stuff.
But I think a lot of people are worrying about stuff that they don't actually need to worry about.
Yes.
Whereas this, and I don't want you to now be awake, but this is stuff that you do actually need to worry about, because it's not just your business, it's somebody else's business. Yes. So the business that you're running has a serious number of critical control points, doesn't it, that you need to manage. And in order to do that effectively, you have to be awake. So you need to be able to sleep and switch off. Yes. Whereas if you're one of those people who when they leave the house has to go back 15 times to check whether they've left the kettle on, it's not going to work, is it?
Yeah.
Because you're never going to be able to actually put that critical control point in place and actually let it run and deal with everything else that's happening.
Yeah.
Does that sound? Am I talking? Does that?
No, that is.
Yeah.
It's a special kind of person, really, that
can go, I've done that.
Yes, and
I've done that.
Trust in yourself and your abilities.
I've set that up. That's how it's being managed, and we're done with that. And now this is what else is happening today.
Yeah, but having a good team that you can trust and rely on as well, and that know that they've got your clients' backs as well. So it's not all 100%.
How did you make that switch? Because it's one thing knowing that you've done it, haven't you? It's one thing knowing that you've turned the kettle off, but it's a very different thing when you're relying on somebody else to turn.
You sure?
Yeah. Have you done it? Did you really do it? Did you lock that? I don't know. Show me the key. Have you got a picture of you doing it?
But then I think that's a really difficult thing, especially when you've got 3 children as well. That's part of the art of actually building a good team and delegating. Because if you're paying 7 other people to help you in your business and then you're not relinquishing that control and you're not trusting anyone to do their job, you're then doing 8 people's work for them.
But that's
the
problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
We all know how we should delegate. We all know in theory how to delegate, but actually doing it without that. Did you really lock it? Did you really turn it off?
As a control freak.
But as a control freak and as a perfectionist as well, I like everything to be perfect. And as the number of kids goes up, your kind of standards drop a bit.
You just work out what is really important.
And
what's
everything
not.
else, you just got to let go. You just got to let go of the messy playroom. Just shut the door and get over it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that there's mess there, but you've put your critical control points are in place.
Exactly. Yes.
And I'm assuming that you monitor to make sure that everybody's actually doing what they should be doing.
But trust is a massive thing, and to give employees responsibility and trust that they're going to do it, it goes a long way for them as well. So, and that's why I've had staff with me for so long, is because I'm not a control. And one of those micromanagers. I hate that. I'll never be that person. But at the same time, it's like, I trust you, but.
And overchecking can be a terrible thing. I once took over a department where it was to do with money, so it was issuing grants where everybody was checking everybody's work. But of course, then nobody actually did the job properly because they were all, oh, it's all right. John's done it. John's really good. Oh, so he's, he'll be fine. So I'll just skim through that, and then somebody else would be checking it and going, oh yeah, but that's all right because Sian's done it and she knows what she's doing, and actually it didn't matter whether you were going up or down the line of seniority.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that somebody else had done it and nobody actually did it properly.
Yeah, so that's clear defined job roles as to who's doing what and when, etc. Management levels, so someone's work is always being checked, so that it's before it goes out the door, and yeah, just sort of having a really open line of communication as well. So, having those conversations, making sure that when someone's on holiday, that it's not just, oh, they'll pick it up when they get back. No, because there's deadlines, still things need to be done. So we always make sure that, people can do each other's work and job roles, so that if someone's away, then someone else can jump into their shoes and it still gets done. Clients still got a contact to go to, etc. So that's how I'll
tell you what, I'm very glad I'm not an accountant. It's a very good reason I'm not an accountant. Okay, a bit of a quick fire round. Looking at you advising clients about their accounts, what is your top tip for people, other businesses, managing their money and accounts?
Money and accounts. Top tip is get an accounting software. Don't use spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets and don't turn up with a shoebox of receipts at the end of the year. Get organised. Get an accountant. Get an account software package. You won't regret it.
And what's your top tip for being in business?
Being in business, as in
you're a businesswoman. What's your top tip for being in business?
Listen to your gut.
I love it. And I'm not sure if we're doubling up here, but let's go for it. What do you know now that you wish you'd have known when you started out?
Trust yourself. Believe in yourself. Don't think that you can't do something. If you feel you can, kind of give it a go. And yeah, I wish I didn't have all of the kind of the doubts that I had. We're not going to invest. Oh, I can't do that because I haven't done this, or just go for it. If you've got an idea, feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah.
So, how can people get hold of you, Stacey?
Website, fosters-accountants.co.uk. A hyphen is a minus sign. Lots of people ask me what's in a hyphen. Or you can email me directly, Stacey, Stacey at fosters-accountants.co.uk. Look at the email or phone the office 01795 485 026.
Stacey Foster, founder of Foster's Accountants and Consultants, thank you so much for being such a super guest on the show. Thank you, Kate Holohan, for joining in with the conversation. And I'm Sian, that's Adele. We're done. We will see you next time.
Tune in next week to the Women in Business radio show for more stories, ideas and inspiration to help you grow your business.